How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite's special event Thanksgiving Eve from tonight, which is November 23rd, 2022. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was Orange Cassidy versus Jake Hager for the AEW All-Atlantic title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Orange Cassidy went over and retained the AEW All-Atlantic title with a roll-up. Now after the match, the best friends, which are Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, and Rocky Romero, were celebrating Orange Cassidy's victory. The Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, Cole Carter, and Lee Johnson, came out and interrupted the Best Friends celebration, and QT Marshall was on the microphone cutting a promo talking about how Orange Cassidy likes to dish out open challenges for the AEW All-Atlantic title and everything, and QT Marshall was getting ready to keep talking, but the microphone cut off, and as the Factory were getting ready to get back into the ring, the lights went out. Then the lights came back on, and the House of Black, Julia Hart appeared on stage, and then the House of Black, which are Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, appeared in the ring, and the House of Black, which are Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, attacked the Best Friends, which are Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, and Rocky Romero, and beat the shit out of them. Then after the House of Black beat the shit out of the Best Friends, the House of Black ended up beating the shit out of the Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, Cole Carter, and Lee Johnson. And, the House of Black ended up beating the shit out of the Factory as well. And then the House of Black ended up beating the shit out of both teams of the Best Friends and the Factory and laid them out. And then some indie wrestlers came out to try to some indie wrestlers came out and tried to get the House of Black to settle down, to calm down and everything, and tried to hold them back and everything, but the House of Black ended up beating the shit out of all the indie wrestlers and the security and everything, and then Julia Hart ended up giving Malachi Black the microphone, and Malachi Black cut a promo saying, "All members of the House of Black, please rise," and everything. And then so the House of Black, which are Malachi Black, Brody King, Buddy Matthews, and Julia Hart, stood tall and disappeared, while the Best Friends, which are Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, Orange Cassidy, and Rocky Romero, and the Factory, which are QT Marshall, Aaron Solo, Nick Comoroto, Cole Carter, and Lee Johnson, were laid out, and all the indie wrestlers and security were laid out as well. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. Match 2, it was Ricky Starks versus Ethan Page in an AEW title eliminator final match. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Ricky Starks went over with the spear. Now, before the match, the Firm, which are Ethan Page and Stokely Hathaway, came out, and Stokely Hathaway was on the microphone and cut a promo talking about how Ethan Page is going to be the next number one contender for the AEW title and everything, and Ethan Page got on the microphone and said, "Oh, you guys didn't like that? Well, I'm going to say this right now. if you think Ricky Starks is going to win this tournament, you're sadly mistaken. And once I beat Ricky Starks, then you all, the Chicago crowd, can go cry, cry, cry like Ricky Starks and everything. And as Ethan Page was talking shit, Ricky Starks came out before the match started and everything. That was cool. That was before the match, by the way. Match 3, it was the Death Triangle, which are Pac, Rey Fenix, and Penta El Zero Miedo, versus the Elite, which are Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson, in match 2 of the AEW Trios Titles Best of 7 Series match. That was a great match, but the ending to it, the Death Triangle went over because Pac pinned Matt Jackson with a shot in the head with a hammer from Penta El Zero Miedo. Match 4, it was Team DMD, which are Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter, versus the Jericho Appreciation Society, which are Anna Jay and Ty Mello, versus Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale in a 3-way tag team match. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Team DMD went over because Britt Baker pinned Sky Blue with the curb stomp. And match 5, which was the main event, it was Chris Jericho versus Tomohiro Ishii for the Ring of Honor World title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Chris Jericho went over and retained the Ring of Honor World title with the Lion Tamer. Now after the match, as Chris Jericho was heading backstage, Chris Jericho threw the Ring of Honor World title down and was getting ready to attack Ian Riccaboni, but Claudio Castagnoli came out, turned Chris Jericho around, and Claudio Castagnoli punched Chris Jericho in the face, and then Claudio Castagnoli grabbed the Ring of Honor World title, held it up high, and then threw it back at Chris Jericho and everything, and Claudio Castagnoli stood tall while Chris Jericho was laid out and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way, and that was match 5 and the main event, by the way. Now, besides the matches, William Regal was out in the ring and cut a promo talking about how MJF wasn't going to be at Dynamite Thanksgiving Eve this week because he's out filming a movie and everything, and talked about how he'll appear next week and explain everything, and William Regal kept going on about it. And as William Regal was talking more about it and was getting ready to explain why he done what he done at Full Gear, Jon Moxley came out and got into the ring, and Jon Moxley was getting ready to attack William Regal, but Bryan Danielson came out to try to reason with Jon Moxley, and Bryan Danielson ended up slapping Jon Moxley in the face, and Bryan Danielson was trying to calm Jon Moxley down once more, and Bryan Danielson got on the microphone and was talking about how William Regal meant the world to him, and William Regal taught him more than he'll ever know, and talked about how Bryan Danielson himself, his father, struggled with a lot of issues and everything, and William Regal taught him how to deal with it and everything, and Bryan Danielson was talking about how he ended up loving his dad and everything before his dad passed away and everything, and then talked about how Jon Moxley could share that story with his daughter and everything, and Bryan Danielson was begging Jon Moxley not to hurt William Regal and everything, and then Jon Moxley ended up wanting the microphone from Bryan Danielson And John Moxley got on the microphone and said to William Regal, "Your Lordship, I want you to run. Run far away and never come back. Run." And then, well, as John Moxley said what he said, William Regal left the ring and went backstage while John Moxley and Bryan Danielson were in the ring looking on and everything. That was cool. Renee Paquette interviewed Keith Lee. Well, Renee Paquette brought up to Keith Lee about tension between himself and Swerve Strickland has been brewing for months and everything, and talked about how it finally came to head at Full Gear and everything. And Renee Paquette asked Keith Lee what was going through his mind over all that and everything. And Keith Lee was getting ready to talk, but Swerve Strickland came along, and Keith Lee was saying, "Renee, will you excuse us?" And Renee Paquette ended up leaving, and Swerve Strickland said to Keith Lee, "Let's talk." Keith Lee said, "Okay," and everything. That was cool. Jungle Boy cut a promo talking about how he showed a lot of resentment and everything in the steel cage match against Luchasaurus at Full Gear, and talked about how Luchasaurus meant a lot to him and how he destroyed him and how he kicked his ass and everything. That was cool. Wardlow cut a promo talking about how he had Powerhouse Hobbs beat at Full Gear executing the Powerbomb Symphony and was getting ready to be done with it and end the match and everything, and didn't realize what happened until he went back and watched the tape, and talked about how Samoa Joe attacked him from behind with the AEW TNT title and everything, and talked about how Samoa Joe isn't the most dangerous man in AEW and is not the AEW TNT champion because Wardlow himself is, because this is Wardlow's world and everything. That was cool. AEW aired the video package of the face-to-face confrontation between Jade Cargill and Bow Wow. That was cool. Renee Paquette interviewed Jade Cargill and the Baddies, which are Red Velvet, Kiera Hogan, and Layla Gray. And Renee Paquette was talking about Renee Paquette was asking Jade Cargill what her thoughts were on Bow Wow and everything, and Jade Cargill was saying, "Renee, no comment, because I'm not going to waste my time on that wannabe rapper Bow Wow. But I'm here to say this right now: I am happy that I got my TBS Women's title back. I got it back with no help at all. And next week in Indianapolis, Indiana, Jade Cargill, myself, and the Baddies will be having a celebration." Red Velvet said, "Why can't we just have a celebration tonight, Jade?" Jade Cargill said, "Red, we're not celebrating in Chicago, Illinois, because Chicago, Illinois, been there, done that. Indianapolis, Indiana will be the place where Jade Cargill and the Baddies will celebrate. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to be bringing in Smart Mark Sterling, my attorney in general." So Mark Sterling came along and said, "Renee, you heard Jade. My client Jade Cargill, her answer to her confrontation with Bow Wow is no comment." Then Jade Cargill was saying, "Mark, Layla, Red, not you, Kiera, come with me, because we're going to get ready for this." And then Mark Sterling had a contract and had Kiera Hogan sign off on it, and Mark Sterling was saying, "Kiera, just to let you know, this contract, I will need your name. I will need your name and date on this contract, because this contract states that you are no longer in service of Jade Cargill and everything. And then Mark Sterling in it, after Jade Cargill and the baddies, which are Red Velvet and Layla Gray, were getting ready to leave, were walked off and left. And after Mark Sterling done what he done with Kiera Hogan, Mark Sterling ended up leaving, and Kiera Hogan was looking on and everything. That was cool. Um, let me see. Let me see. Trying to think. Oh, yeah. Yeah, excuse me. Oh, yeah. Renee Paquette interviewed Team DMD, which are Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel. Well, Renee Paquette made the announcement that Thunder Rosa and AEW have came to an agreement that since she's been injured and she's been out for a while, that Thunder Rosa is forfeiting her AEW Women's title. And Renee Paquette talked about how Thunder Rosa had a lot of contributions and was a tough fighter for AEW and everything, and talked about how Thunder Rosa obliged to to forfeit the AEW Women's title and everything. And then Renee Paquette called out Jamie Hayter, and so Team DMD, which are Britt Baker, Jamie Hayter, and Rebel, came out, and Renee Paquette asked Jamie Hayter about her victory against Toni Storm at Full Gear, and talked about and asked her how it felt to have the interim part of the AEW Women's title dropped and now just being the AEW Women's Champion. Well, Jamie Hayter was getting ready to talk, but Britt Baker said, "Renee, I am happy for Jamie Hayter. She is the new AEW Women's Champion. And from here on out, I will say this right now. Excuse me, but I will say this right now. We had that plan of cutting out the interim part of the AEW Women's title. And that plan came to fruition. And Jamie Hayter is going to be a dominant champion. So let the champ go to the ring and everything." That was cool. Renee Paquette interviewed FTR, which are Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, and Top Flight, which are Dante and Darius Martin. Well, Renee Paquette brought up about Top Flight requesting the time to talk to FTR and everything, and Dax Harwood was saying, "Renee, allow me to interrupt you, please. Top Flight, Dante and Darius Martin, I want to say this right now. I know you all have been injured. I know you all have not been able to team as much in AEW because of all the injuries that have happened. But from what I've seen of you all, I'm impressed. You both will be the next best tag team in the history of professional wrestling. Go out there and be the best tag team like Cash and I have done." And everything. And then Darius Martin was talking about how he's been out with an injury for a while and how FTR were a great tag team and everything. And then Dante Martin was saying, "FTR, since you're impressed with us, how about on Rampage this Friday night, you and Cash put your AEW put your Ring of Honor tag team titles on the line against Top Flight." And Cash Wheeler was saying, "Well, Dante, Dax and I were always up for a challenge, so you're on." Then Dax Harwood was saying, "You're on as well." And then FTR, which are Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, and Top Flight, which are Dante and Darius Martin, shook hands, and Dante Martin said, "Top Flight, out." Then Dax Harwood said, "That's our catchphrase," and everything. That was cool. And the Acclaimed, which are Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, along with Billy Gunn, came out. Well, Max Caster done a rap on what happened at AEW's pay-per-view event Full Gear, and Anthony Bowens said his signature line, "Chicago, the Acclaimed have arrived," and everything. And then Anthony Bowens was talking about how his shoulder feels better, how not only are him and Max still the AEW Tag Team Champions because they retained against Swerve in Our Glory at Full Gear, and Anthony Bowens talked about how his shoulder feels better and how another thing's happening. So Billy Gunn took the tape off his fingers and everything, and then Anthony Bowens signaled for "Scissor Me Daddy Ass." Well, Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed, which are Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, were getting ready to do the Scissor Me thing, but Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh interrupted from the Titantron from backstage, and Sanjay Dutt was saying, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. Were you all talking about us in your rap?" Jay Lethal was saying, "Oh, no, they didn't." And Jay Lethal was saying, and then Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt were saying, "You two keep our names out of your mouth and keep our friend's name out of your mouth," and everything. And then Jeff Jarrett came along and said, "Listen here, Slap Max. You want to sit there and rap and act like a dumbass? Well, I'll give you something to rap about. Same with Daddy Ass and Junior Ass and all the AEW ass clowns here in AEW and everything." And then Billy Gunn was saying, Billy Gunn got on the microphone and was talking and was saying, "Get that old ass off the Titantron. You know, I'm feeling really good. So, where were we, boys? Scissor me, daddy ass." And then, so Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed, which are Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, done the scissor me gesture and everything. That was cool. Now, besides all that, Tony Schiavone, Taz, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. Don Callis done guest commentary along with Tony Schiavone, Taz, and Excalibur during the match between the Death Triangle versus the Elite in match 2 of the AEW Trios Titles Best of 7 series. Don Callis done great on guest commentary, and Ian Riccaboni done guest commentary along with Tony Schiavone, Taz, and Excalibur during the match between Chris Jericho versus Tomohiro Ishii for the Ring of Honor World title. Ian Riccaboni done great on guest commentary. The referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, Stephon Smith, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Orange Cassidy versus Jake Hager for the AEW All-Atlantic title. Stephon Smith refereed the match between Ricky Starks versus Ethan Page in an AEW title eliminator final match. Rick Knox refereed the match between the Death Triangle versus the Elite in match 2 of the AEW Trios titles Best of 7 series. Paul Turner refereed the match between Team DMD versus the Jericho Appreciation Society versus Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale. And Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Chris Jericho versus Tomohiro Ishii for the Ring of Honor World title. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, the match card that's been announced so far for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite next week, it's going to be the Death Triangle versus... It's going to be the Death Triangle, which are Pac, Rey Fenix, and Penta El Cerro Miedo, versus the Elite, which are Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson in match 3 of the AEW Trios titles Best of 7 series. Now, besides all that, MJF will be appearing live. So the match card that's been announced for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite next week looks like it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it, and I'm looking forward to it. And the match card for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Rampage special event Black Friday night, it's going to be FTR, which are Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, versus Top Flight, which are Dante and Darius Martin, for the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles, the AAA Tag Team titles, and the IWGP Tag Team titles. Darby Allin versus Anthony Henry, the Dark Order, which are John Silver, Alex Reynolds, and Tien, versus Roosh, the Butcher, and the Blade, and Hikaru Shida versus a local competitor. Now, besides the matches that have been announced, Chris Jericho will be appearing live. So the match card for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Rampage special event Black Friday evening looks like it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it, and I'm looking forward to it. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite's special event Thanksgiving Eve from tonight, which is November 23rd, 2022. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your fucking ass down the goddamn road. Peace out.